Hi there, this is Sasha from Helloween, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
This is 70,000 Tons of Metal, the original, the world's biggest heavy metal cruise. 60 bands, 4 days, one cruise ship, only 3,000 tickets. It's like having an all-access backstage pass. January 29th to February 2nd, 2026. From Miami, Florida to Nassau, the Bahamas, and back. 70,000 tons of metal. What are you doing next winter?
I'm Bruce.
Hello.
That's my partner, Dark. Nice to meet
Hey.
you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks, Sasha. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
So we were just talking, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. Did you guys ever play L'Amour in Brooklyn?
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
I'm trying to find it online because I swear to God I saw you guys play at L'Amour in Brooklyn way back, and I don't remember.
I don't remember either. Maybe I wasn't even in
the band?
Yeah, I think that would have been before your era, but
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Either way.
Probably.
Either way, thank you for taking the time. Longtime fans here. Thank you for your contributions to the metal world for sure. And let's just jump in. I'll let Dark take it.
hey,
Mhm.
Sasha, nice to meet you. Thanks for doing this. So, I presume we want to talk about mostly today is Giants and Monsters, right?
Yeah.
Hey. So yeah, when's that coming out? August 29th or something? Next month?
Exactly. August 29th.
Okay. So, you want to talk to us about hey, like a bunch of us heard the last album, and most of us know like Keepers of the Seven Keys and Walls of Jericho. Like, what can we
Mhm.
expect from this one?
I would say it's an evolution to the last one, like, because the last album was the first album since the reunion. And since then we did 2 world tours and had this one record. And so this is like it's like an evolution from the last record because like the band feels more together now than it did before. You always have to take some time as a band to click with each other and be in sync, and touring helps for sure. So being on the road together for a long time, and then with the last album we kind of laid the base for what the new era in our band will bring, So in this album is a very good sequel to the first one.
So what's interesting to me is like, you now have 3 vocalists. Are you
Mhm.
contributing to the songwriting, Sasha?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We are a lot of songwriters in the band, so
Yeah.
and it's fun with more vocalists because then while you're writing, you already have people in mind who could sing the song, and yeah, so it's fun to do that actually.
So when you're
Um,
writing, you're thinking of who's gonna take that part.
Yeah, most of the times, I mean, I know Andy for a long time, and I know in what kind of range he sounds great, or at least for my taste, So he can sing everything, but I know where he really shines, So and so sometimes I have that in mind, or even melody wise, I when I write, I know that's a song that Andy could like, or in other songs I just know that's like a typical perfect Michael Kiske song, for him to sing. So and then I always have the vocals in mind. I mean, I'm a guitar player in the band, but for me the song comes first, and vocals come out always first, and that's even how I compose. I would fiddle around with synthesizers or guitars, and while I'm fiddling around, I'm also singing at the same time. So I always have the song in mind, and so it's much easier with different flavors that different singers bring to the band.
Sure.
It's now much more fun.
Oh, yeah. Is there like an effort to be like, okay, we need like 4 songs for Kiske, 4 songs for Andy Darris, and then what Kai Hansen gets 2 or something?
No, we don't go like this. We don't go like this. In Halloween, I always call it's controlled chaos. So it's like we don't plan things. Like for us, it's as artists, for us is it's every album is like a snapshot from where we at in the time of our lives right now, you know. So and that's a good thing. What I meant before, when you go on tour together, of course you have subjects together. You talk about like lyrical wise, you know, and you kind of you get into sync with each other. And for some reason, when we finish demos and bring it to the table, for some reason we always get enough songs that will make a perfect album altogether, you know, just because we're in sync, we like the same kind of subjects, you know, well, and musical wise as well. And I think every band has that somehow, that you create an album, and you don't construct it, you know, you go like, okay, that's where we are or who we are right now, and that's how we want to sound at the moment. And of course on tour you speak a lot about those things, you know, you go like you speak about sounds. Like, you know, Kai and I, we would speak about guitar sounds and production even before we went into the studio, you know. So, and you're exchanging ideas already, and you have that in the back of your mind, and then when you enter the studio, you somehow process that, you know. And yeah,
Yeah. Wow, you make it sound so organic.
It's very, yeah, it's very
that's
organized.
what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. That's why I said it's a sequel to the other one, or to the
Mhm.
last album, or an evolution, because like the last album, of course there was a lot of focus on that, because everybody knew, okay, now it's Kai and Michael being back in the band, and it's the first album together as the band that we are right now, you know. So and now it feels even more stable and more in sync, and like I said, it's very organic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So
Most
you
of the time,
mentioned,
go
sorry,
ahead.
no, I was going to say you mentioned that, it's an evolution and Helloween's got quite a few records out. Do you think about not writing the same record from cycle to cycle? So, I mean, you want to still stay true to your Helloween fans, but you don't want to write the same previous record, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. You always try to do your best, you know, and of course our band went through a lot of experimentation as well, you know, throughout the years, and which wasn't always a success, but gave us a more a wider range, you know, a more variety. We're now more able to do stuff that the band couldn't do in the 80s, for example, you know, where like this kind of power metal niche was founded, you know. And over the years, so when Andy came into the band, he brought like his hard rock approach into the band as well. And there was a lot, he he gave the band more variety, you know, and that was really successful when he joined the band. So we even got newer fans, and when I joined the band, so I left a little stamp in here and there as well, you know, going more on a progressive or more melancholic part, you know. So yeah, so every member brings something to the table, and in the end of the day, you have more colors to paint with, you know, and that's what it is right now. And we always try to do our best. And I have to say, songwriting wise, I'm always very impressed of what Andy does. Like he's a songwriting machine. So he impressed me when I joined the band more than 20 years ago. It was like for me, okay, that's the skill level here. That's crazy, you know. Like he would just like he could write songs any day, you know, and always to a very high level. And you don't see that very often, you know. A lot of bands, they have their output and they have their prime, and some artists, they always bring quality, and that always impressed me with bands, and we certainly have that in our band as well, you know. Kai is a brilliant songwriter, and and Vaiki is a brilliant songwriter. So we have so many good songwriters, and that brings quality to the albums, I think.
Does that bring too much to the table though, with everybody writing?
Um, you can't have too much, you know. It's like if, you know, we always have a lot of songs, and we don't bring all the songs on an album, you know. Like so, it's always nice to have stuff to choose from, you know. And we would have our management and our producers, and the band. We would kind of pick stuff that fits together to make like a whole experience, you know? Like if you take an album as a journey, you know,
Mhm.
then it's perfect to have a lot of songwriters with a lot of flavors, and I think that's a big plus for in our band. Yeah.
All right, Dark, I got one more and I'll let you take it away. When you're putting the record together, though, I think there's a lost art of sequencing, right? How much time do you spend these days sequencing a record? Because you need to create that sort of ebb and flow, right? And the journey that you just talked about. But we're living in a world where there's like, give me the 3 second single or the 30-second single, and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, well, in the heavy metal world, you have that a lot, and like I said before, Andy he always brought this kind of hard rock and rock songs to the band, and you could say like, okay, these are often songs that could be played on the radio, but we for sure know that we're not a band that is going to be this radio smash hit band, you know, like our core fans are Halloween fans and metal fans and so, but we do what we do and what we like, and he always brings those kind of songs, and we are always amazed by that. So, and we also have a lot of times the live show in mind as well. So some of these songs are very important for us to have in a live set as well, because you can't always play like these 10 to 15-minute songs that we usually have sometimes. You know, you can't do that, and after all, I have to say in this whole like speed and power metal world, we are an arena band after all. You know, we figured it out the last tour when we played arenas, and it was like, okay, we have this kind of attitude and vibe and on stage, and so having those kind of songs who could be a good radio smash hit makes a really good choice for the life journey as well. Yeah.
Sure.
You say
Dark.
that, but the last time I saw you guys, it was Terminal 5 in New York, like 2 years ago.
Hmm.
I think you opened up with Skyfall. What is that, like 13 minutes long? And
Yeah.
you also played The Keeper of the Seven Keys. And then I
Hmm.
think you also played Halloween. Like, did you? So three?
No,
No,
we
Halloween.
didn't. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but so you got two like
So
10-minute plus songs in there.
yeah, exactly. And then you have like 2 or 2.5 hours show, and you don't want to murder people in the audience, you know, you musically, you know, you have to. It's the same with like with the album. You have to give the people an experience, you know, and for sure we are known to have great ballads as well. You know, we have another ballad on this album which I find turned out really good, you know, and it's something people know us for. So that's what I mean about having many flavors, you know. So it's like we were able to make like 15 minutes progressive metal songs, but at the same time, or we can have like these super fast speed metal smashers, but at the same time we bring those hard rock songs and ballads to the table as well. And of course we wanna kind of reflect that on our live show as well, you know.
Yeah, even going back when I first heard Halloween, I was in high school, like
Mhm.
2009. And when I'd show it to friends, one of the ones we've always talked about, of course, the 13-minute Halloween song, but also like a tale that wasn't right. And that was,
Hmm.
that was always a standout. But yeah, you said I got to review Giants and Monsters the other night, and talking about a ballad on the album. Do you mean Into the Sun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that was one of the standouts to me. Were you involved in writing that?
No, it was Andy's song. So
Mhm.
Andy came up with the demo a long time ago, and then we worked on that as a band. You know, we had like many versions of that song, and like you said before, we have a lot of singers. So of course we tried. Now we have this duet version with Michael and Andy, which fits perfectly well. You know, and we did a lot of like. I was involved a lot in the guitar layouts and stuff, you know, to everybody was bringing something to the table with this song to make it shine, you know, and then also with like orchestration, we had some guys from the US doing cinematic orchestration and stuff because this song has like this James Bond vibe, and we, you know, so we thought it should sound more cinematic. So yeah, and so with a song like this, for instance, if you go in the studio and you lay down the guitars, it's really difficult to do that because you have to make it as simple as possible to not disturb the vibe and the cinematic feel, you know. So that makes it difficult from that part, and for me, it was a lot of fun to do that, you know. And then you would have this Scorpion-esque guitar solo in there
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that, you know. So yeah, that was a lot of work to make the song happen the way it is right now, and
Mhm.
I'm really happy about that. Yeah,
Well, yeah, I cited it as one of the standouts. I said it was kind of like a tale that wasn't right's older, like football playing brother. Sorry,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
like reminded of it, but definitely like you didn't go into like love song cliches where a lot of power metal albums might have done that. It was just like
yeah,
softer, more somber, but still heavy. The James Bond,
yeah,
that's a funny. I never think of that one.
There's a
yeah, and
licensing
it's
deal right
something.
there, right?
No, I don't think so. But you know, that's the thing. That's what people know us for. That's they know us for great ballads as well. And we didn't have one on the last album. You know, we didn't have space for that left on the last album, and
Mhm.
it was about time to do a ballad again. You know, and when Andy came up with this song, it was really impressive. You know, so
Mhm.
we knew that's something. We have something here, and that's why we also recorded different versions as well. So
Mhm.
you can tell the song works because you can play with acoustic guitar and sing, but at the same time you can make a huge cinematic version out of it. So
Mhm.
everything works with that song.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, Sasha, how long have you been in Halloween now? A little over 20 years, was it?
Yeah, I think 23 or something. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
23 years. Yeah.
I know Bruce already kind of touched on this, but I do have to ask, like, you specifically, like, how do you come into a band as legendary as Halloween and think, like, you're tasked with writing some songs? Like, this is one of the most legendary metal acts there is, and most people think, I think this, the band invented power metal. Do you find
Mhm.
yourself thinking, like, okay, I need to write, like, a second Eagle Fly Free? Or is it just, yeah, go on.
No, I mean, going back in time, of course, I was 25 years old when I joined the band. So I was like really, actually from today's perspective, I was pretty young, you know, and I didn't actually have time to think about those things because everything was like my whole life turned around at that point, you know, and so, but what a lot of people don't know, I started at a very young age. I was this kind of like super young wunderkind guitar player, you know, and I recorded the first albums when I was 16 years old. So I was always working with older guitar players, older musicians, you know. So I was always the youngest guy in the bands I played with, and so and there was another band that kind of prepared me for that. So I was in a band called Freedom Call, also from Germany,
We know.
and and Charlie Bauerfeind was producing our first albums, you know, and by that time I was like 19 years old when I met him, you know, and we worked together, and I think when Halloween was searching for a guitar player, and he was producing Halloween already, he was remembering me, you know. So he kind of suggested me to Vicky because he also knew both of us personally, and he thought like we would get along. And that's what I keep saying to a lot of young people when they're starting out. Um, Actually, it's not that much about the skills, you know. It's like you have to have a certain skill set as a musician that is needed, you know. Like you have to have that, and then when you have it, nobody's talking about it anymore. You know, it's more about how do you get along with each other? What can you bring to the table? You know, I can compose, I can sing. I'm a good hang around in my band at least, you know. So and that's way more important than being the next Ingrid Malmsteen, you know.
Right.
So and at the same time, in a band like this, where you had like two, now we have three guitar players, you know, you have to let space for each other, and you know, it's not like it's not your solo show. And since I started very early, I learned it from the beginning, you know. So you have to let space for each other, and of course, I knew it's a legendary band. I knew, I of course, I recognized Halloween from my school times and everything. So and I just know how to behave, you know, in such a band. I was like not the young gun that comes into the band. It's like I'm the guitar hero now, you know. So I I know that it had to be some symbiosis, and at the same time, Vikey and I we get along so much. I mean, he's my best friend in the band. You know, we spend
Wow.
the most time off tour speaking to each other, and we liked the same things from the beginning on. We had, and even though I'm much younger than the other guys, we kind of have the same roots,
Mhm.
which also is matching with Kai. You know, Kai, Viking, and I, we the three of us, we love Michael Schenker, for instance. We have those kind of old school guitar
Mhm.
vibes in us, you know. So, and that's like the red line, which is connecting everything, you know.
Yeah.
So, as a legendary band and one who has, like Dark just said, been credited sort of with, starting the power metal genre, do you feel any pressure when you go into the studio to write? Like, do you have a certain, I need to do this because we're the trendsetters, or does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's not that. It's more, I mean, I can speak for myself and not so much for the others, but from what I know and what I feel, I think it's not that. It's more of you don't want to repeat yourself. That's what
Yeah.
you don't want to do, you know? You don't
Yeah.
want to repeat yourself. And then for me personally, it's like with so much songwriters in the band, like I said, like everybody who's contributing songs to the band is a great songwriter. And for me, it's like I wanna I wanna put out stuff on that level, you know? Like there's a
Right.
lot of stuff that you would write sometimes and you think like, oh, is it good enough? Or, you know, you kind of ask yourself that way sometimes. And then I always deliver songs where I really think they could compete with the level of the other songwriters, you know? So I would rather give them three finished songs where I'm really happy about, instead of delivering eight songs and a couple of them I'm not sure about, you know.
Right.
So it's more that it's more like you want to have that hit that level, and at the same time you don't want to repeat yourself, you know. And at the same time, like you said, it's like I don't like the term legendary, you know, like you know Phil Collins is
Sorry.
legendary for me.
Right.
No, not no complaints, but I was just thinking like I I don't have the legendary thing term in on my mind, you know. So
Right.
it's not that. It's just we wanna make great music, you know, and we wanna on at the same time we know what our fans kind of expect. So you couldn't come up with that jazz rock song, you know. That's for
Right.
sure.
Oh, I don't know. Like you were saying, Halloween has always been about like you don't want to repeat yourself. And I never got the idea that they were a band that followed the rules. Like,
No, never.
yeah,
Even not on a humor side, you know. We were always about to not taking ourselves too seriously, and we didn't want to be stereotypical all the time. I mean, take me for instance. I'm not the average metal dude, you know. Visually, I was always trying to do something different, you know, and it that's what heavy metal was about for me when
Yeah.
I discovered it at young age. It was kind of rebellion and everything, you know. And with Halloween, we certainly have that, you know. It's
oh yeah.
always like don't taking everything too seriously,
Mhm.
Right.
and bringing a good party to the live shows, you know.
Sure.
Well,
Dar, can I interrupt for a second? We just got
yeah.
our warning here for time, but I got a quick question for you off the topic for a second. Did you watch Back to the Beginning this weekend? The Ozzy
What is this?
thing?
Oh, I heard of that. Yeah, I saw a couple of things on social media. It was like flooded in, you know. I watched a couple of things. I like the Steven Tyler being there on stage. It was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 77 and tearing it up, right? That's pretty crazy.
That's crazy. It's crazy. You know, that's very inspiring at the same time. I'm looking at those guys and I'm thinking like, okay, that's where I hope I can be on stage
Oh yeah.
like those guys, you know.
Mhm.
Very inspiring.
All right,
Yeah.
Dark, you got any last words?
Yeah, so I just had like two questions like about songs on the new album. One was you just brought up the humorous side, and like I always think Helloween's like at time has had a silliness going back to like Rise and Fall or even Dr. Steen is a little bit, silly, fun in a way.
Yeah,
The song Under the Moonlight, when I listened to that the other day, I was like, wait, are we going back to that? Like, is that in the same vein? Was that, inspired by that stuff?
I think so. I think what you're referring to is the quirkiness of Mr. Wyckoff, you know.
Oh, is that it?
So he's a super quirky guy in general, and for some reason he always brings it into his songs. You like our diehard fans, they can, even if they wouldn't read who was writing what, they could tell. They could listen to a song and then know, okay, this is an Andy song, and this is a Vycat song, and this is a Kai song. Because just of the way everybody brings in his personality into the writing, and with Vikey, you have certainly that. It's always a little bit of a quirkiness, and
Hmm.
and also he has like this super like genius melody lines, jumping up and down a lot, and that's what you have a lot with it. Yeah, I think, yeah, you're right. I think this song is a very traditional Vikey song. Yeah.
So, and I guess just a second to last thing, like, can you pick like 2 to 3 songs from the album that you think like we should like you're really proud of, whether you wrote them or not, just as a band member?
Yeah, as I said, I think Into the Sun stands out, as it's like the first ballad that we did together with this lineup, and I really think it shines. And you just said it, Under the Moonlight is a great song as well, but at the same time, it's really hard to pick. Then uh, y- personally, for me, I gave birth to a song. I have really to say birth because it was a long song. It's over 8 minutes. It's called Universe,
Oh yeah.
which took me some time to get all the parts together, and I think I'm happy about the result. Yeah.
Well, you just picked 3 songs I flagged as standout tracks, so hey, looks like we're on the
They're
same
on the
page
same
there.
wavelength. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Universe is a great one. I remember I was like, this sounds like it sounds like Halloween without sounding like any particular previous era. It sounds like something new that they did, and that's fantastic. And obligatory last question, unless Bruce has something else, is like when are we going to see you again? Like you come back to the US anytime soon?
Yeah, I hope so that we're coming back on tour next year,
Okay.
somewhere, like we start with the European leg now, in fall. So we doing the whole European tour, and then next year we continue to travel the world and bringing some heavy metal music into the
Nice.
scenes. Yeah.
Sasha, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for taking the time and your
You're welcome.
contributions. I love the record
I do too.
and appreciate
Great.
your time, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey,
Thanks,
have a
guys.
great one, man. Thank you.
Take
Hey, be
care.
well.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.